Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Camilla.
I'm Zee Garcia.
Today we're taking a look at Nova Roma, which is a game from, and it doesn't mention his name on the front of the box because they didn't want to mess this artwork up, Stan Kordowski. Artwork done by D'Amico, which, well, that is more obvious on here. This is a game about Rome and blah, 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 blah. It is a Euro game.
Yes, it's Nova Roma, which means New Roma.
New Roma. All right, let's get into the mechanisms of it, and we'll be right back.
All right.
The game's going to be played over 5 rounds, and at the end of those 5 rounds, whoever has the most victory points is the winner, and you're going to be scoring based on quite a few different things, as well as victory points you've already attained. So that is endgame scoring there. I'm not going to worry going too much into depth on that. So every one of those 5 rounds is 3 phases. The Emperor phase, which is very simple, then the Forum phase, the meat of the game really, and then a quick cleanup phase to get ready for the next round. So the Emperor phase is going to go like this. We are going to, I'm the start player in this case, and I have my things set up over here, and this is the start player token right here. So I am going to flip over one of these symbols, one of these tokens, and it tells me one of 2 places in this grid where I must put this Caesar. So I can put it there, or I could put it there. All right, and I would decide based on some of the actions I want. I'm going to try to lay it down and put it right there so you can hopefully see that. Then we can get rid of this, and that is pretty much the Emperor phase. Then we go into the Forum phase, which, like I said, is the meat of the game. During the Forum phase, the players are going to take turns placing one of their workers in this little area right here, activating 2 different powers. Based on where you go, you are going to activate the power in that column, and this was randomly set up, by the way, and the one in that row. If you have multiples of your pieces in that row or that column, you activate that thing at a higher strength. So the number of pieces indicates the strength of that action, and the Caesar here helps everybody. So we're going to go ahead and talk about all of these different actions very quickly, and that'll give you basically the main idea in the game, okay? We're going to start over here, which is this action right here, and every action is symbolically denoted, and it tells you a little breakdown of what you're doing. So I'm going to be moving up this right here, my influence, equal to the strength. This always means the strength at which you're working, which could be 1, 2, 3 if I have all these people lined up, or possibly even 4 if I somehow have all 3 of mine lined up and Caesar there. Plus that might be modified by other things in the game. So I'll go right there. And we're doing then, I'm moving up on this influence. I can pay wine. These resources here are tracked, and there is wine, there's the horses, the grain, the wood, and the stone. You begin with 1 of each, and you can have up to 5, and of course none. You can pay wine to get more, and then you can acquire one of these tiles out here. Some of them do have a cost in coins above them, and then the special one down here, you can pay wine for that one, and it doesn't replenish. This one's once per round. So I could say acquire this one and put it somewhere in this grid. Let's say I put it right there. These things are going to scoot over and replenish. That's that action there. The next one's sailing. I'm going to go up here for sailing, and I'm going to have to acquire one of those cards up there. The cards I may acquire are denoted by the strength. Right now I have a strength of 1. If I had this from a previous placement, I would have a strength of 2, and I could acquire those 2 at strength 1 or more, that one at strength 2 or more. And I pay the resources at the bottom. Then I get to move on this track here equal to my strength, as denoted there. I have to buy a card, and then I can move. So if my strength was indeed 2, I could move 1, and I get a coin, and then 1 more time, and I get 3 victory points at the end of the game. If this is as far as I've gone, if I make it to the 7, I'll get 7, and if I make it in here, I'll get 14 if I'm first, or 12 or 10. So bonuses along the way and possibly some victory points. The sailing cost is right here. Sometimes it's 1, mostly it's 1, but sometimes it does take 2 to make this jump. And you can move either shape, but they always have to be moving ahead, as denoted by the arrows there. Once you buy one of these cards up here, we're going to scoot them over or replace it. And then these cards, after you purchase them, are going to be played below this little board of yours. Below this, you're going to put this card right here. Having these organized thusly is going to help you keep track of what's going on over here. We'll come back to that. The next one over here is going to be the chariots, and that's denoted right here. You get to move up the number steps equal to your strength, and you would pick which track you want to move up on and move your piece, in this case 1 strength. To cross this line, you have to give up a horse. Same here, 2 horses here. And if you make it to these locations, you gain and add to your supply one of these tokens. They're going to be used to cover up these conditions right here as you satisfy them. Again, we're coming back to that. Also, at the end of the round, whoever's highest on the track designated by this bonus chariot is going to get 3 victory points. And at the end of the game, making it over here gets you some points as well. Next up, we've got this one over here. And it's a catch-all. It's a wild action that lets you activate any of the other ones as seen right here. And it also lets you take away the first player token from somebody else by giving up 2 of your influence. And then you can spend influence to take any one of the other ones. So I don't need to explain that one. As I explain all the other ones, you'll know what everything that one action can do. Turning the corner here, we've got this action. If I take that action, I would check right here. And I'm going to do one of 2 things for each strength I have there. I can either place one of these workers, or I can gain an extra one for grain. Now, I can only have up to 3, as denoted right here. And placing them, which is the top ability, entails putting them out on this grid and getting the 2 things at which he crosses. So I would get grain at the top, and I would get wine right here. And if there's a tile where I place him, I get that too. So I'd get the wood, the grain, the wine for going right there. All right? That's what that lets me do. Again, having multiple strength would let me also perhaps buy one and place one, or I could place 2 even. All right? Next up, we're looking over here. We're looking at this building area. Much like the ships, I need to purchase one of these cards first, and the strength denotes what I may purchase up to. It tells you what you have to pay across the bottom, but these cards have a shape at the top. And it's very important to take into account what that shape is. First of all, you're going to get a number of victory points, and then this shape denotes the cubes that you're putting out here in that shape. You can rotate it freely as you want to, but the place from which you bought it, and indeed your strength, denotes where you may build. So let's say I'm at strength 2, because I did this, okay, and it would be my own, and Caesar counts for everyone, so strength 2. That means I can buy up to 2. So let's say I bought this one for these resources. I'd have to give up one of these gray workers and pay a coin and a wood. And then I could build in A or in B, as denoted right here. And the shape is right there, so I could do something like this, let's say. And as I explained, I could rotate this, mirror it, whatever. Let's say I did that. Upon covering surrounding one of these symbols out there, fully surrounding it, including diagonally, then everyone around it is going to get that bonus. And at the end of the game, having the most cubes out there is going to give you some victory points. So there's some polyomino at work there. You take that and then you replenish by flipping over new ones. And this card goes on this side right here, so that, again, you can keep track of it. Moving on to this one, we go right here for some resource generation. You're going to get coins equal to your strength. You can discard these, which I haven't gotten to yet, for more coins. And then you can spend any number of coins for resources to move up on this track right here and gain some resources. And then the last one is right here. This is the last one. And this is going to let you draw some cards equal to your strength. And then you can pay to play one. It'll cost you 2 coins if your strength is 1. It'll only cost you 1 coin If your strength is 2, it'll be free to play the card if your strength is 3. These people all will modify or enhance something or give you some endgame scoring. So for example, if I have this character and I play them out, I am going to get, every time I do this action right here, I would get an extra wine for doing that action. All right, and these are going to enhance that. So there you go, and then they would scoot over. So every player is going to place out workers, taking turns again. So I would place one, do those 2 actions, then the next player perhaps would play here and do these 2 actions. The next player would go do this and this. Then it comes back to me. Maybe I'll move on the chariot and go over here and then get myself some coins and some resources. And that continues until we've all placed out all of our characters, all of our workers there. Once that's done, then we go to the cleanup phase. We determine the new first player. If somebody took it from somebody else, this can only be taken once per turn. So you make sure you leave it, and then you can get it ready for the next round. It cannot be stolen in the same round more than once. We are going to determine who took the favored chariot race, and whoever's farthest ahead on that track, like so, would get the 3 victory points. This can now go away, and it'll be replenished during the next one. It might be the same one, and it might be a different track that is the favored track. We are then going to recall all of your characters. All your patricians come back to you. And we get everything ready. The first tile here is discarded and the rest scoot. This person's discarded and the rest scoot. And this is going to be reset the next round by the new first player, who is going to reveal this and put the Caesar in one of those 2 denoted locations, getting rid of that and starting it all over again. Now, the final thing I have not explained is this right here. This right here is made up of 3 tiles that you might draft at the beginning of the game. You are going to slot them in here, and you may, every time it's your turn to place out one of your patricians, before or after you do that, if you qualify for one of these, you may claim it. For example, I qualify for this first one where I have one of these cards and one of these cards. So I could cover that up like so. I'm going to be getting bonuses for completing these things, sort of tic-tac-toe style. As I complete a line, I get something. A column, I get something. Even the diagonals will give me special bonuses, and then also victory points at the end of the game for having these tokens in those locations. Gaining more of these from moving up on the chariot will simply give you more opportunities to put these tokens out and complete various bonuses and abilities. So there you go. That's what you're doing over here, playing this little tic-tac-toe game for riches galore. And that's pretty much what's going on in the game, manipulating this to do all of these things and trying to come out on top. So there you go. That's going to do it for my overview here. Let's go ahead and go back up top.
Now, the art in this game, I want to talk about that briefly because I think I have like 90% good things to say. I really do.
Okay.
I think the game looks great. This cover looks great. The Miko's artwork is very much kind of very, obvious. It's what it is. He almost is too much in the board game hobby, and his breadth isn't so wide that when you see it, you're like, that's him, that's him, that's him.
Yes.
And I love this cover. I think this cover is great. The board is phenomenally well done. So easy to look and say, this does this, this does this. It is functionally great. Mm-hmm. It's just that when I glance at it, I'm like, oh, it's a new Scarfield game. And it's not. It's that all his boards tend to have the same kind of look to them. And maybe that's good. Maybe that doesn't bother you. But it looks like a Valeria game and or a Garfield game. He has that same kind of style with his games. That's my only minor nitpick. I know you don't. You wanted the cards that have different artwork. He's mentioned that.
I don't like the repeated artwork. I think that was.
I agree with that. That was my thing. Because people kind of look alike, yes, from various things. But yeah,
I didn't understand that.
There were several cards. There's a lot of artwork that's repeated on the cards for the people, and they're not the same person. They do different things.
And they don't have like the same power either.
Right.
So you have to look at that, which kind of, I don't know, it takes me out of the theme a little bit, which I know it's a Euro game at heart, but that was a disconnect. I was like, I didn't know why there was not enough unique art in the cards when there's unique powers on the cards.
I agree. I would have loved to have seen that. That helps sell the theme. And I know, yes, Euro game, but it does sell it.
Yeah.
But again, I want to come back to that point, though. I am thrilled that the actions were printed on the board. And they list the things you can do. It just was such
good
a
iconography,
game.
too.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
has good iconography.
It's huge because it has a lot going on,
Yes.
right? I mean, there's lots of different actions which intertwine together, and you're choosing 2 in one turn, not just one. So that's a lot of mental overhead to do. It's like, okay, I know I want to run the chariot race this turn. What's my other action I want to do? The fact that you can look at the board and be planning ahead on your turn is really helpful. You're not having to ask questions. Where do I go to do this again? Okay, what does that symbol mean again? You can easily answer all your own questions in the gameplay.
Yeah, this is the whole thing is based around that central conceit of mechanism of placing a worker and getting a row or column. Which
row and column, that's the thing.
as soon as I read that in the rulebook, I'm like, I'm in, because that's just fun.
It sounds good, right?
Because you might not get that perfect combo, but you can get one of the actions.
Right.
And it's going to change from game to game. Sometimes you're like, oh, those 2 actions, I'd love if they had crossed.
Oh, yeah.
But I like that. I also like that the Caesar there blocks a spot, but also makes you more powerful. Doing the same action once a turn makes you more powerful. Very Stan Kordansky's mechanisms. He puts that stuff in his games.
Yes.
But that alone, to me, makes the game fun. That main thing is so much fun.
I think it's also really well done that there's that one spot where you can go to take any other filled action or any action you couldn't get. And I love that. So that just gave a little bit more legs to the gameplay, because I could see without that you being blocked out of something and you're like, there's really nothing I need to do, and that would be frustrating. I feel like that spot loosened it just enough to where it was crunchy and you had to think about it and kind of mull over and, got really into that efficiency puzzle, but you weren't so entangled in it that the entire round depended on getting that one spot.
Yeah, I agree. I love it. Mechanically, it's got that really nice making your action stronger by lining up your people. And the dwindling, not resources, but I guess placement options is really great. Like that tension rising through the turn as your possibilities. Like you said, I need to go to the chariot race, and they're drying up those spots.
Right.
I really like that.
Right, and it's really interesting too. I think that the more you line up, the more powerful your actions become.
Right.
And I know there was a couple times I took in one play where I took the sail action and I didn't use all the sails because I was too powerful in the card buying, but I needed it for the actual sailing around the board to have enough sails to make it through that that rondelle. But then there was one time where I did need it up there, but not in the other one, but I had 2 ships. So I guess all that to say, it's a really interesting balance of getting more powerful. And sometimes you need all eggs in one basket. And other times it's like, I don't know, like it'll let me do a couple more things, because I'm more powerful. And so I found that to be a really interesting balance as well of when do I need them to cross and when is it about taking a lot of different actions.
Yeah, this is comparable to, like I said, Stan's other games, but it also reminded me, oddly enough, of Trajan, a Stefan Feld game where the central mechanism was a Mancala thing, but then you went off and kind of played these mini games around Rome and that sort of thing, and this has a very similar feel to it. There's all these different mini games, 2 of them being very easy ways to get resources. Resources can be tight in this game, but you can also get them. You just have to determine. It's not like you're like, well, I can't do anything for the next 4 actions. No, your actions might be getting resources, but again, there's some very simple things. Spend money and get any resource you want. I need horses, that's the resource to get. Or if you build your grid up, you can do some other cool things. And I found that to be just, the game has a nice flow. I don't think player turns are particularly long.
Right.
And if all else fails, the game does another thing I love, and it helps give you some focus, which is the little tic-tac-toe thing. I didn't love that at first. I was like, this feels very random. But you're like, wow, this tic-tac-toe says, and if you play the main rules, you draft them. So you can like put a bunch of things in the same. You're like, okay,
right.
I need to build a lot of buildings. All right, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
That helps.
I like that a lot too, yeah. I find that these designs from this designer, I should say, he does a lot of sort of, I don't know, what do I call it, like Frankensteining games together, you know, like pieces of various things, like Endless Winter feels like that to me. It's like there's worker placement over here. There's these 2 tracks, and you move up on these tracks. There's this tile laying and then extra laying on top over here. That's its own thing. There's this over here, and you can sort of, you know, you got to learn it all, and you find threads between them to help you learn and play the game. But sometimes they're barely tangible, and I think this game does a pretty good job of taking these disparate things and letting me see those threads a little more clearly. Yes, it's a bunch of stuff thrown together. But I like it when, oh, the wine I collected over here helps me here. And oh, the silver guy, I can place him on the thing, or I can use him in the race at the chariots. I'm seeing some things that work together, and I can draw my own conclusions as to why. So those parts came together a little better for me in this.
Now, what are your thoughts? What would you rate it?
I really enjoyed this. I think my sweet spot is those thematic Euros that we talk about. And I think that this had enough of that I was getting into it. But at the end of the day, it came down to the mechanisms are really, really solid. So I'm coming in at 8.5 on this. I very much enjoyed it. I think that there is great decisions to make. And there's multiple ways to get to your end goal, which means it becomes this efficiency puzzle that's constantly evolving as you're trying to build up your power behind the actions, or maybe someone slips in there and takes your spot. And so I think that's a really, really good balance. One of my favorite things in games like this can sometimes grind to a halt, whether it's a player has analysis paralysis, AP, or you're just frustrated that you can't get what you want. And I had none of that feelings in my plays of this. I really thought that it was really smooth, and it was just more of an efficiency puzzle than a frustration. So for me, it was an 8.5. I very much enjoyed my time with this.
Yeah, I'm pretty close. I'm an 8. I think it's solid. It sounds like almost a negative thing. Like, what do you think it's solid? But it is. That the main mechanism of the worker placement is fun. It's a little, I don't know, these kind of games where there's a row and column and the worker placement, you know, I like that sort of thing. It's not quite like Targi. Targi's, you put the stuff on the outside and get the inside. Here you put on the inside and get the outside. I don't know. I enjoy that. And I like all the little mini game things that you're playing. And just, you're always doing something good. Even if you block my best spot, I can go and do something. Yeah. I can go get some sort of action. And
it has some nice momentum, forward momentum.
Yeah, you do feel like you're always progressing. That's nice. It's rewarding like that.
So I'm going to come in. I would come in higher even. I'm coming in at an 8.5 as well, same as you. For all the reasons you guys have said already, it's a very good game. I really enjoy playing it. And I would come even higher if I liked the 2-player mode in it. That's one thing I did not. I don't like 2-player modes in games in which the solution for making it tighter is, well, here's some workers from a third unused color. After you place your own, then just slap this guy somewhere and block your opponent. It'll feel like a 3-player game.
It's a little more in your face, though.
It is more in your face, A, and B, I'm expending more mental energy. Now I have to play for me and for you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now I have to like do my own thing. Oh, I want this and this.
Yeah.
Let me see what you're doing. I don't want you to do both of these. So there.
Right. But
I hate that. Like, that's so...
I actually like that.
But also in a way that doesn't hurt yourself. You have to not only figure out a way to block them, but also to not block what you want. You know, so it's double the mental load, and it kind of grinds the game down.
That's it, right. So I would, like I said, if I had a better or smoother or faster 2-player mode, I would come in even higher, I think. Honestly, if it randomly took a spot in the grid after every player's turn, I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, but then you might not, because it would take your spot and not block mine. Right.
That's fine, but I wouldn't be the one doing it. I'm just saying I want it to be... I just want it to be like literally randomly, like... I'm imagining like an app or a deck of cards in which I flip or whatever. Like, after I take a turn, take one away. I can just consider that to be a third player who maybe screwed me over. I'm okay with that.
Or even just call it a 3-player game. I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
Just say it's 3 to 4 players. Done. Boom.
You can't do that.
I know. Heaven forbid. But yeah.
Well, there you go, folks. That's Nova Roma. Check it out. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Camilla.
I'm Zee Garcia.
We'll see you next time. Hail Caesar.
Caesar!